Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you guys about the P30 Pro. I've had the phone for the last 3 days, so this is going to be kind of like an initial impressions of the P30 Pro after using it as a daily driver for 3 days. I'm going to share with you guys some of the things that I was actually kind of surprised how good they are, and also some of the things that I wasn't aware that were not even here. So let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and check out the P30 Pro. This is TK and this is XDATV. So the P30 Pro that I decided to go with is the Aurora one. I have an unboxing and initial impression of that and more of a deep dive into what we get here over at my channel. So I'll give you guys a link to that in the description below. We have that triple camera, well, quadruple camera setup in the back, but realistically 3 cameras that you can take pictures with. And the 4th one is more of a time of flight sensor. So this is more for depth information and of course, much better bokeh effect whenever you're taking your images. Dual tone LED flash, and then of course we have the 8 megapixel telescopic camera that actually sits in this position facing this way with a few lenses in front of it that enables us to have true 5x optical zoom on this device, and then of course hybrid zoom that goes even higher all the way up to 50 zoom. I'll share with you guys a couple of those pictures there. And then we have a couple of other sensors in here, a 40 megapixel f1.6, basically just as your standard wide lens. And then we of course have an ultra wide 20 megapixel at f2.2. And between all 3 cameras and the time of flight sensor, this is going to be the best combination that you can get at this point in 2019. And of course, making this device the device to beat in 2019, as far as it comes to photography. On the back, we have wireless charging and reverse wireless charging, and they work great. This is definitely a nice upgrade from the P20 Pro from earlier last year. And I basically have been a big fan of the P20 Pro, and the P30 Pro has not disappointed. It not only took all of the stuff that I loved about the P20 Pro, with the exception of a couple, and then upgraded on all of them. And I'll get to you guys in a little bit about what was the things that I'm missing here that we had last year with the P20 Pro. Now on the front, we noticed the new design. We have a teardrop design as opposed to what we had last year, so the notch is definitely a lot smaller. So a couple of things that we have here, of course, as well, is that this is a 1080p panel. Let's go ahead and unlock the phone. It's a 1080p panel, a 6.47 inch display. It's an OLED panel, so we don't have the Quad HD like the Mate 20 Pro, but we definitely have similar stuff that we had last year with the P20 Pro. The notch itself, as I mentioned to you guys, is basically a teardrop with the camera. This is a 32 megapixel camera with an f2.0 aperture, but the main difference, of course, is that we lost the earpiece. It's no longer sitting here. And the reason why I'm worried about this is from last year, we obviously had an earpiece that not only worked as this earpiece, but it also complemented so that we had somewhat of a stereo implementation, meaning the earpiece and the bottom firing speaker provided us a stereo experience so that when you're enjoying content, media, videos, even watching this video on the P20 Pro, you had stereo, and that's something that we are losing here. The reason behind that is that the earpiece is actually vibrating beneath the display. So that's one thing. The other thing we also lost is the notification LED light that we usually have here back last year with the P20 Pro. And that's something that, again, I'm not sure why we lost it, as a lot of us do rely on that. When the display and the device is off and you're not using the always on display, obviously if your phone is on the table, that was always an indicator that you have something that you needed to pay attention to it. So definitely very nice that we have some upgrades, but again, some design choices, I'm not sure why we had it this way. On the top, we have an IR blaster, we have a couple of antenna bands as one on the microphones, and of course we have a actually flat surface. For some reason, the design is, even though this is basically an upgrade, we went with more of a flat as well as on the top and on the bottom. So that's pretty much what you have. We have the symmetrical curve on the front, on the back. That's very nice. Go ahead and turn off the device. We have an accented power button with a volume rocker right above it. And of course the camera is on the back. The SIM tray that houses, this model that I have only houses a single SIM with a memory card. There is a dual SIM version that also works out there, and then just depending on the model you pick up, you'll be able to get that. And of course we have a USB-C, no headphone jack, so this is going to be data, charge, as well as audio. And of course the bottom firing speaker. The first couple of days I was using this phone, I decided to stick to the stock launcher, but unfortunately I missed all the different gestures that I like to do and all the different functionalities that I have set up within Nova Prime. So yes, I did install Nova Prime and it's been working like a champ. There's no issues with gestures, using Nova Prime, and of course just doing multitasking, going back. Let's go back here and I can go back. All of the stuff that you want are here and they work great. The camera setup that we have here is just fantastic, and the images that you're able to get out of this phone is just amazing. And what you can see right there is this is exactly took out with nature. There's a little bee right there going in there, and there's another one at the bottom. I don't know if you probably kind of missed it or not, and it just looks really nice. Now, trying to use the hybrid zoom all the way up to 50 times, I was able to actually take a picture of the moon. That was just something. Now, this was not easy to take. I did take a few of those, and it is shaky as heck, but just keep in mind that you are able to take pictures similar to this. Obviously, if the moon was a little little bit fuller as opposed to being more of a crescent, that would have been much, much nicer. And of course, the really, really good test about this is I actually stood from one end to the other side of a park that's very near to me. And I decided to take a first picture here with the wide angle lens. So this is just the standard, you can see everything. And of course, you can go take the standard image and you can still see a lot of stuff. And then we're gonna start going into zooming section here. Here's 5x zoom. So you can go from here, which you can pretty much not see that there's a person on the other side, to 5x zoom that you can start seeing that this person is sitting there. And again, the picture looks really good. This is optical at this point. And now we're going into hybrid mode. This is 10x hybrid, and you can see a little bit better now. You can see that the person is standing there. And this is at 50x across the park, and I can see the car, I can see the person. I can't read the license plate, but I can tell you that the ability of just doing that with this phone is just amazing, and this is going to be great for any parent out there. Now the phone ships out with EMUI 9.1 with Android 9.0, and again, is running the Kirin 980, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of internal storage, February 1st security patch update, and I think there's another update coming out with basically the 1080p panel, as I mentioned to you guys. We have dark UI support, Dolby Atmos for stereo sound, and of course in the box we had basically the Huawei 40-watt charger, which is supported to be able to supercharge this 4200 milliamp battery. So this is very similar to the Mate 20 Pro. It'll charge just as fast, and of course, honestly, in my opinion, when you're considering using wireless charging or anything like that, other than just using wired just beats everything, and you're able to top off your phone so quickly. I would definitely recommend you not worrying about anything wireless or anything. Just go with the charger, enjoy the speed. And of course, we have the new fingerprint sensor. It is basically the same experience as the Mate 20 Pro. It is not as fast as the P20 Pro, but just keep that in mind. This is going to be obviously a learning experience. It is positioned slightly lower than the P20 Pro, the Mate 20 Pro. So the Mate 20 Pro had it more positioned right here. This is closer, more similar to the way we've seen it on the OnePlus devices. It is basically very nice. It is not a 3D sensor, it's an optical sensor. So just keep in mind, it works great, and definitely I really like that. All the modes and everything that we liked, so night mode, of course, portrait mode, and so on. So I went ahead and decided to take a picture. This is the P20 Pro picture that I transferred over for us to actually take a look at. You can kind of see what's going on. This was actually pretty dark, so this already did a good job of telling me what's going on. We have a tree, we have the backyard, you could see basically what's going on. And then when we switch over to the P30 Pro RYYB configuration, we are in ridiculous land. And what I mean by that is this actually is it's just literally 10 seconds apart from the other picture. And you can see not only the actual spaces, you can actually see that there's a spot there. You can see everything that's going on, and it looks amazing. Definitely night mode on this device looks great, and it's not going to disappoint. And the new configuration for the sensor will definitely help us out. We have aperture mode, night mode, portrait mode, all the different options that you have. Of course, we have 4K recording, but unfortunately no 4K at 60 frames, only 4K at 30 frames. And the front-facing sensor, even though it's a 32 megapixel sensor, we're still capped at 1080p. We have a dedicated AI mode, as well as a dedicated macro mode, and of course monochrome and all the different options. There's not going to be any disappointment here. Video on this looks great, as well as audio. Video quality and image quality is going to be great on this device. We have HDR support both on the front-facing camera for video as well as for photography, and of course we have the AI mode with the master AI in the background. This is definitely a really good upgrade and improvement from what we've seen last year with the P20 Pro, specifically with HDR support. So for a quick sample from the outside, one of the really cool things about this is that you can actually change your zoom level. So here's 5x zoom, here is 10x zoom, and we can always pop up into wide angle lens in the same video without having to stop. One of the really cool updates that we also saw this year was the GPU Turbo 3.0 upgrade that we received, which makes it basically compatible to use the NPUs to accelerate and give you a better experience playing games with PUBG, Fortnite, and some of the other compatible games. We also have support for the gaming, the Bebop G1 controller if you have it, just to be able to add it there. So my initial impressions of this device is definitely very, very nice. I think this is going to make a very good upgrade for whomever decides to go for the P30 Pro. The color options that we have, as well as the fact that we have the P30 option, definitely makes it very enticing. Now, the fact that we lost the stereo speakers and the fact that we lost the basically the notification LED, and I'm only comparing that to the P20 Pro from last year. I think this is going to be a personal preference. The sound on the earpiece sounds really good, even though it's under the display. The fingerprint sensor is not as fast. It's going to be more if, let's say, in the Mate 20 Pro experience, the P20 Pro had a physical fingerprint sensor, and for that, it provided you a much faster experience going in there. And of course, also gave us a few extra options for navigation, as we had navigations using that. So overall, I think it's very nice. I'm very happy with it. There's going to be obviously a much more deep dive experience done by Dan over here on the channel, just talking about camera and photography and the experience using these lenses. But out of the box, after a couple of days or so of using it with the 4200 milliamp battery, there's no question this is going to be the device to beat for 2019. Like and subscribe as usual. Make sure you check out my channel and subscribe there. We're almost hitting 100,000 there. And of course, I'll see you guys in the next video.